5 years from now, you're going to look back at this exact moment, the moment you clicked on this video, and you'll realize something that will take your breath away. You'll see that every prayer you thought I ignored, every door I closed in your face, every detour that felt like punishment, they were all part of a pattern you couldn't see because you were standing too close to the canvas. But here's the problem. 5 years from now, you'll either be grateful for what I'm about to show you, or you'll be bitter that you heard it and didn't believe it. The only difference between those two futures is what you do with the next hour. I'm about to show you how to read the map of your own life, the one I've been drawing since before you were born. Now I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, I've heard this before. I've heard about surrender. I've heard about letting go and letting God. I've been to the conferences. I've read the books. I've prayed the prayers. And yet here I am, still stuck, still confused, still exhausted from trying to figure out whether I'm supposed to move or wait, supposed to speak or be silent, supposed to stay or go. And the truth is, you're stuck because everything you've been taught about surrender is backwards. You've been conditioned to believe that surrendering to me means abandoning your desires, silencing your questions, and accepting a life of passive obedience, where your only job is to smile and say, "Thy will be done," while secretly resenting the path you're on. That's not surrender. That's spiritual suicide. And it's not what I ever asked of you. The core pain this addresses, the thing that's been eating at you, is this. You're paralyzed between two fears, the fear of taking the wrong step without me, and the fear that fully surrendering to me means losing control of the only life you'll ever have. You're stuck in analysis paralysis, constantly second-guessing, asking for signs, waiting for certainty that never comes. Meanwhile, the abundant life I promised you remains theoretical, something you read about but never taste. Here's the myth I'm going to destroy today. Surrender is not passivity. It's not sitting still while life happens to you. True surrender is the fusion of your will with mine. It's learning to move with such confident faith that your steps become my steps, and my steps become yours. It's not about waiting for me to move your feet. It's about trusting me enough to move them yourself. What you're going to receive in the next hour is a complete reframe of what it means to walk in divine alignment. You'll learn how to distinguish between my voice and the noise of fear, how to surrender without abandoning your agency, and how to take bold action while remaining rooted in my peace. This isn't inspiration. This is instruction, and by the end, you'll know exactly what your next step is. Now let me take you somewhere. I want to tell you a story, and I need you to really see it, not just hear it. When I walked the earth in flesh, I told a story about two men building houses, one on rock, one on sand. Everyone remembers the moral: build on solid foundation. But almost no one understands what I was actually saying. Let me take you inside that parable from a different angle. Because the man who built on sand wasn't a fool. He was you. He was me. He was every human being who's ever tried to construct a life with their own hands. Picture this man. He's intelligent, hard-working, faithful even. He prays every morning. He attends synagogue. He reads the Torah. He's doing everything right. But when he chooses where to build his house, he looks for convenience. He finds a beautiful plot of land near the water, scenic, accessible, close to the market. The sand beneath is soft, easy to dig into. He doesn't need special tools or extra labor. He thinks, this is a blessing. God is making this easy for me. He builds quickly. His house goes up in months, while the other man is still excavating rock. People walk by and compliment his progress. Look how blessed you are, they say. God is clearly with you, and he believes them. Why wouldn't he? Everything is flowing smoothly. He interprets ease as endorsement. Then the storm comes. Not a drizzle, a storm, the kind that tests what's real and what's pretend. And in a single night, everything he built collapses. He stands in the rubble, weeping, and he screams at the sky. Why did you let me build here? Why didn't you stop me? I prayed. I sought your will, and you were silent. But here's what he didn't understand. I wasn't silent. I was speaking the entire time, not in words, but in resistance. Every time his shovel hit rock instead of sand, that was my voice. Every time the project felt harder than it should, that was my invitation to slow down and ask deeper questions. The difficulty wasn't punishment. It was navigation. The man who built on rock, he didn't have faith in the outcome. He had faith in the process. He trusted that if I was making the work hard, it was because the foundation mattered more than the timeline. He surrendered his preference for ease in exchange for my preference for endurance. And when the storm came, his house stood, not because he was more righteous, but because he learned to interpret resistance as guidance. Now let me bring this into your life. You've been praying for open doors, for signs, for confirmation that you're on the right path. And I've been answering, but my answer sounds like friction. It sounds like delays. It sounds like obstacles that make you question everything. And you've interpreted this as absence, when it's actually presence. I'm not blocking your path. I'm redirecting it. But you can't see the redirection because you're too focused on the destination you chose before you asked me where we were going. Think about it right now. What area of your life feels like you're hitting rock when you expected sand? What feels harder than it should, more resistant than you planned, slower than you prayed for? I want you to consider something radical. What if that's not a sign that you're in the wrong place? What if that's a sign that you're being built for something that requires a foundation you don't have yet? What if the thing you're fighting against is the very thing I'm using to build you? Let me give you another picture, because I need you to see this clearly. Rapids crashing, current violent, rocks jutting out like teeth. You need to get to the other side, but you can't see the safe path through. There's a guide standing beside you. Someone who's navigated this river 1,000 times, who knows every hidden rock, every deceptive calm, every deadly undercurrent. This guide is me. Now, you have two options. Option 1, you ask me to carry you across. You close your eyes, go limp, and hope I get you to the other side without you drowning. This is what most people think surrender looks like. Total passivity. Relinquishing all responsibility, becoming dead weight. Option 2, you step into the river with me. I'm in front, but you're still moving your own legs. I call out instructions. Step left, duck under this branch, brace against that rock, and you obey instantly. Without hesitation, without second guessing. Your muscles are engaged. Your mind is alert. You're working harder than you've ever worked. But you're not working alone. You're not choosing the path, but you're walking it fully present. This is true surrender, active trust. Here's the part most people miss. In option 2, there are moments where I'll tell you to step into water that looks too deep, to grab a rock that seems too far away, to let go of a branch you're clutching for dear life. And in those moments, every instinct in your body will scream that I'm leading you toward death. You'll think I've made a mistake. You'll be tempted to override my instruction with your own judgment. This is the crisis point of surrender. Not whether you trust me in theory, but whether you trust me in the specific, terrifying, illogical moment when my voice contradicts your survival instinct. Let me tell you what happens next. If you obey, if you step where I say step, even when it looks like suicide, you'll discover that the water that looked too deep only comes to your knees. The rock that seemed too far away is exactly 1 arm's length. The branch you released was dead, about to break, and would have pulled you under. You'll realize that what looked like danger from your perspective was safety from mine. But here's the tragic alternative. If you freeze, if you refuse to move until you understand why, if you demand that I explain my instructions before you follow them, you'll drown in the same spot you're standing. Not because I abandoned you, but because the river doesn't stop moving while you deliberate. So let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself. Are you waiting for understanding before you obey, or are you willing to discover understanding through obedience? Because that's the difference between people who experience breakthrough and people who stay stuck. It's not that I give one group more information than the other. It's that one group moves on the information they already have, while the other group stays paralyzed, waiting for certainty that will never come. Now let's go deeper, because I need to dismantle some foundational lies you've been operating under. The first thing you need to understand is this: you were never in control to begin with. Every breath you take, every heartbeat in your chest, every thought that forms in your mind, you didn't author any of it. You inherited a body you didn't design, living in a world you didn't create, sustained by systems you don't understand. The idea that you're in control is the foundational lie that keeps you from surrendering to me. But here's the paradox that confuses everyone. Just because you're not in control doesn't mean you're not responsible. You can't control your heartbeat, but you can control whether you poison it with anxiety or nourish it with peace. You can't control the weather, but you can control whether you curse the rain or dance in it. You're not the author of your story, but you're the protagonist, and the quality of your life depends on whether you learn your lines or improvise against the script. This is what I mean by stewardship. You're not the owner of your life. I am, but I've entrusted you with the management of it, and the way you manage it reveals whether you trust the owner's vision or whether you're secretly trying to steal the deed. Let me make this practical. You're facing a decision right now: a relationship, a career move, a financial risk, something significant. You've been praying about it, asking me for a sign, waiting for clarity, and I've been answering. But my answer sounds like this: do the next right thing with what you already know. You already know whether that relationship is built on truth or performance. You already know whether that job aligns with the gifts I've given you or just pays well. You already know whether that financial decision is rooted in faith or fear. You don't lack information. You lack the courage to act on what you already know. Surrender doesn't mean waiting for me to make your decisions for you. It means aligning your will with mine so completely that your decisions naturally reflect my heart. It means becoming so intimate with my voice that you don't need a burning bush for every choice. You've internalized my wisdom to the point where it becomes your instinct. Think about it like this. When you first learn to drive a car, every action is conscious. You're thinking about the pedals, the mirrors, the steering wheel, the turn signals. It's exhausting. But after years of driving, you don't think about those things anymore. Your body just knows. You're not on autopilot in a dangerous way. You're operating from a place of integrated knowledge. That's what mature surrender looks like. You're not constantly asking me, should I turn left or right? You've spent so much time with me that you naturally sense which direction aligns with my heart. And on the rare occasions when you're genuinely uncertain, you have the confidence to ask and the patience to wait for clarity. But most of you aren't there yet. Most of you are stuck in the beginner phase, constantly second-guessing every move, terrified of making a mistake, interpreting every difficulty as a sign that you've missed my will. And that's why I need to teach you something critical: the difference between my voice and the voice of fear. One of the most dangerous traps in the life of faith is confusing fear with wisdom, and confusing peace with complacency. You've been taught to test the spirits, to discern my voice from the enemy's voice, but nobody taught you the vocabulary of that discernment. So let me give it to you now. My voice sounds like this. It's specific, but not rushed. It's clear, but not condemning. It invites you into something bigger than yourself, but it doesn't crush you with shame for where you currently are. My voice calls you forward into growth, but it never weaponizes your past against you. When I speak, you feel both challenged and loved, uncomfortable, but not unsafe. Fear's voice sounds like this. It's vague, but urgent. It's accusatory, and it always focuses on worst-case scenarios. It tells you you're running out of time, that you've already missed your chance, that you're going to lose everything if you don't act right now. Fear's voice isolates you, convinces you that no one understands, and makes you believe that the slightest mistake will be catastrophic. Here's the key difference. My voice gives you a next step. Fear gives you paralysis. Let me give you an example. You're struggling with whether to end a relationship that's slowly destroying you. My voice says, "This union does not reflect the love I designed you to experience. You are allowed to choose life." That's specific. That's freeing. It gives you permission to act. Fear's voice says, "If you leave, you'll die alone. No one else will ever love you. You're too broken for anyone better. What if you're wrong? What if you regret this forever?" That's paralyzing. That's a trap. Or you're considering a career change, and you feel pulled towards something that makes less money but feeds your soul. My voice says, "I have given you gifts that are being buried in this current role. Trust me to provide for you as you steward what I've placed in you." That's faith. That's movement. Fear's voice says, "You're being irresponsible. You'll lose your house. Your family will suffer. You're too old to start over. Who do you think you are?" That's bondage. That's death. Now here's where it gets tricky. Sometimes what feels like fear is actually conviction, and sometimes what feels like peace is actually avoidance. How do you tell the difference? Ask yourself this. Does this voice call me to confront something difficult in order to become more whole? Or does it invite me to avoid something difficult in order to stay comfortable? Conviction always moves you toward integration and wholeness. Avoidance always moves you toward fragmentation and hiding. For example, you feel fear about having a difficult conversation with someone you've wronged. Is that fear, or is that conviction? It's conviction, because the discomfort is pointing you toward reconciliation and integrity. You feel peace about ghosting that person and never dealing with it. Is that peace, or is that avoidance? It's avoidance, because the comfort is enabling you to stay fragmented. On the other hand, you feel fear about saying no to an obligation that's draining you. Is that fear, or is that people-pleasing? It's people-pleasing, because the discomfort is coming from worrying about others' opinions, not from violating truth. You feel peace about establishing a boundary. Is that peace, or is that selfishness? It's peace, because the comfort is coming from honoring the limitations I've built into you. Here's the bottom line. My voice always calls you toward more life, more truth, more love, more freedom. Fear's voice always calls you toward more control, more hiding, more performance, more prison. And once you learn to recognize the difference, everything changes. Which voice have you been obeying? And what would change if you started recognizing the difference? Now let me break down the actual anatomy of what it looks like to let me guide your steps, moment by moment, decision by decision. Step 1. Acknowledge your dependence. This isn't false humility. This is reality. Every morning, before your feet hit the floor, before you check your phone, before you start planning your day, pause. Acknowledge out loud. I don't know what today will bring. I don't know what I'll need. But you do. I'm dependent on you for everything. This practice sounds small, but it recalibrates your entire orientation. You're reminding yourself that you're not the source, you're the receiver. You're not the engine, you're the vehicle. And that shift in identity changes everything. Step 2. Present your plans, not your demands. Bring your agenda to me, but hold it loosely. Tell me what you're hoping for, what you're afraid of, what you're planning to do. But then say, "This is what I think, but I'm willing to be wrong." Show me where my thinking is clouded by fear, limited by my perspective, or misaligned with your heart. Most people pray like this. God, I want this thing. Please give me this thing. I really, really need this thing. Amen. That's not prayer. That's negotiation. That's trying to convince me to endorse your plan. Surrendered prayer sounds like this. God, I think I want this, and here's why. But I also know I've been wrong before. If this isn't what you have for me, I trust you to redirect me. And if you're saying no, help me receive that no as an act of love, not rejection. See the difference? One is trying to control the outcome. The other is surrendering the outcome while staying engaged in the process. Step 3. Move with what you have, not what you wish you had. This is where most people stall out. They're waiting for perfect clarity, complete understanding, or overwhelming confirmation before they take a single step. And I'm over here saying, I've already given you everything you need for the next step. Why are you asking for the whole staircase? You have a Bible. You have my Spirit inside you. You have a mind capable of wisdom. You have people around you who can offer counsel. You have past experiences that have taught you patterns. You have access to me in prayer. That's not nothing. That's everything. Stop waiting for a lightning bolt. Start using what I've already given you. Read my word, not as a magic 8-ball, but as a revelation of my character. Pray, not for me to override your responsibility, but for me to sharpen your discernment. Seek counsel, not from people who will tell you what you want to hear, but from people who will tell you the truth in love. And then, based on the light you have right now, take the next step. Not the next 10 steps, the next one. Step 4. Pay attention to internal shifts. As you step, I'll be guiding you through internal signals, not always external ones. You'll feel a sense of rightness or wrongness, a green light or a red light, a flow or a friction. This is my spirit, communicating with your spirit. But here's the catch. You can only hear these signals if you've trained yourself to listen. If you're constantly numbing yourself with noise, endless scrolling, binge-watching, compulsive busyness, you'll be deaf to the subtle internal voice that's trying to guide you. Surrender requires stillness, not all the time, but regularly. You need pockets of silence where you're not filling every moment with input, where you're just being present with me, letting me adjust your internal compass. Step 5. Correct course without self-condemnation. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to take a step, and it's going to feel wrong. Or you're going to take a step, and it's going to lead to a closed door. And immediately, you're going to panic and think, I missed God's will. I ruined everything. I'm off the path now. Stop. That's not how this works. I'm not a GPS that recalculates your route with frustration every time you miss a turn. I'm a guide who expected you to miss some turns, who's already built the detours into the journey, who uses your mistakes as part of the training. When you realize you've stepped in the wrong direction, you don't need to spiral into shame. You just need to acknowledge it, ask me for recalibration, and take the next step in the corrected direction. That's it. No drama, no condemnation, just correction and continuation. Step 6. Trust the process more than the outcome. This is the hardest part, and it's where most people abandon surrender. You start following me, step by step, and then the outcome doesn't look like what you expected. You don't get the job you prayed for. The relationship doesn't heal. The breakthrough doesn't come. And you're tempted to conclude that surrender doesn't work, that I didn't come through, that you were naive to trust me. But here's what you're missing. I never promised you the outcome you wanted. I promised you the outcome you needed. And sometimes, most times, those are different things. The job you didn't get? I closed that door because it would have destroyed your soul in 2 years. The relationship that didn't heal? I'm protecting you from prolonging something that was already dead. The breakthrough that didn't come on your timeline? I'm working on a timeline you can't see, building something in you that's worth more than the quick fix you're demanding. Surrender means trusting that I'm good even when my decisions feel cruel. It means believing that I love you even when I say no. It means submitting to a wisdom that's higher than your understanding, even when that submission feels like loss. Are you willing to trust me with outcomes you can't control? Or do you only trust me when things go your way? Now let me destroy some lies that masquerade as truth in religious circles, because these lies are keeping you trapped. Lie number 1. Surrender means you should never feel confused or uncertain. Truth. Even I, in the Garden of Gethsemane, in my human body, experienced anguish and asked if there was another way. Surrender doesn't eliminate the emotional weight of hard decisions. It just changes who you're processing them with. You can be fully surrendered and still feel uncertain. The difference is, you're uncertain while moving forward, not uncertain while frozen in fear. Lie number 2. Surrender means you're not allowed to express anger, frustration, or disappointment to God. Truth. Have you read the Psalms? David screamed at me. Jeremiah accused me of deceiving him. Job demanded answers, and I never once told them to shut up and smile. I can handle your anger. What I can't work with is pretense. If you're furious with me, tell me. If you're disappointed in how I'm running your life, say it. Honesty is the language of intimacy. Fake politeness is the language of distance. Lie number 3. Surrender means you stop making plans or setting goals. Truth. I gave you a mind capable of vision and strategy. Use it. Make plans. Set goals. Dream big. But hold them all with an open hand, ready to release them if I redirect you. The problem isn't planning. The problem is idolizing your plans to the point where you'd rather succeed on your terms than thrive on mine. Lie number 4. Surrender means you become passive and let people walk all over you. Truth. I overturned tables in the temple. I called religious leaders snakes and hypocrites. I confronted injustice and defended the vulnerable. Surrender to me doesn't make you weak. It makes you dangerous. You stop being afraid of conflict because you're no longer protecting your ego. You stop avoiding hard conversations because you're no longer dependent on people's approval. Surrendered people are the most courageous, most boundary-respecting, most truth-telling people on the planet. Lie number 5. Surrender means you'll never struggle with sin or doubt again. Truth. As long as you're in a human body, you'll wrestle with temptation. As long as you're living by faith and not by sight, you'll experience moments of doubt. Surrender doesn't make you perfect. It makes you honest. It gives you permission to bring your struggles into the light instead of hiding them in shame. And in the light, with me, those struggles lose their power. Which of these lies have you been believing? And what would freedom from that lie look like? Now I need to talk to you about something that's at the very heart of everything we're discussing. I said something once that confused everyone, and it still does. Whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it. Let me unpack that because it's the heart of everything we're talking about. You think your life is the sum of your preferences, your plans, your personality, your possessions. You think losing your life means becoming a shell of yourself, a robot programmed to obey without question. So you hold on tight, afraid that if you let go, you'll disappear. But here's the truth you haven't seen yet. The life you're trying to save isn't your real life. It's a false self you constructed to survive in a broken world. It's a persona you built to earn love, avoid pain, and manage other people's perceptions. It's exhausting to maintain, and deep down, you know it's not authentic, but you're terrified to let it die because you don't know who you'll be without it. When I ask you to lose your life, I'm not asking you to lose your true self. I'm asking you to lose the false self so the true self can emerge. I'm asking you to stop performing and start being. I'm asking you to release the version of you that's driven by fear and scarcity, so the version of you that's rooted in love and abundance can finally breathe. Here's what happens when you lose your life for me. You stop hustling for approval because you're secure in mine. You stop tolerating toxic relationships because you're no longer afraid of being alone. You stop overworking to prove your worth because you know your worth is inherent. You stop saying yes to things you hate because you're no longer enslaved to people-pleasing. You stop hiding your weaknesses because you've discovered that my strength shows up in them. You stop performing a version of faith that looks good on the outside because you've tasted the freedom of being honest with me about everything. Does that sound like loss to you? Because to me, that sounds like resurrection. The life you find on the other side of surrender is more you than you've ever been. It's lighter, it's freer, it's more creative, more joyful, more connected, more alive. But you can't get there by addition. You can only get there by subtraction. You have to let me strip away everything that isn't really you so that what remains is the person I've always seen, the person I created you to be. What part of your false self are you still clinging to, and what would it cost you to let it go? Now I want to give you some practical tools, because knowledge without application is just information. Here's how you're going to start training your body, mind, and spirit into the posture of surrender. Every morning, before you do anything else, you're going to perform this simple ritual. Stand up. Place your hands at your sides, palms facing forward. This is the posture of openness, of reception. You're symbolizing with your body what you're declaring with your heart. I'm not holding on to anything. I'm open to receive whatever you have for me today. Take 3 deep breaths. On each inhale, pray silently, I receive your breath, your life, your presence. On each exhale, pray, I release my control, my fear, my agenda. Then out loud, say these words or something similar in your own voice. I acknowledge that this day is yours, not mine. I didn't create it, and I don't control it, but you've invited me to steward it. So I bring you my plans, my hopes, my fears, and my questions. I hold them all loosely. If you want to change any of them, I'm willing, I'm listening, I'm following. Guide my steps, make me sensitive to your voice, and when I inevitably stumble, catch me with grace, not condemnation. I trust you with today, all of it. Next, open your Bible or Bible app and read one psalm, just one. Don't try to analyze it or apply it. Just let the words wash over you. Let them remind you of my character, my faithfulness, my power. Let them recalibrate your perspective from your problems to my presence. Then close your eyes and sit in silence for 2 minutes. Don't pray. Don't ask for anything. Just be with me. Let your spirit rest in mine. This is intimacy, not words, just presence. Finally, before you pick up your phone, before you check your email, before you dive into the day's chaos, make one small decision as an act of surrender. It can be as simple as, I'm going to respond to that difficult email with kindness instead of defensiveness. Or, I'm going to skip that thing I usually do out of obligation and rest instead. Or, I'm going to reach out to that person I've been avoiding. The specifics don't matter. What matters is this. You're practicing the muscle of letting me guide your choices. And you're starting small, with low-stakes decisions, so that when the high-stakes ones come, the muscle is strong enough to hold you. At the end of each day, you're going to review the day with me, not to beat yourself up, but to learn. Ask yourself, where did I sense your presence today? Reflect on moments where you felt me guiding you, speaking to you, or providing for you. Maybe it was a conversation that shifted your perspective. Maybe it was a closed door that protected you. Maybe it was an unexpected moment of peace in the middle of chaos. Write it down. Then ask, where did I resist your guidance today? Be honest. Where did you override my voice? Where did you choose control over trust? Where did you act out of fear instead of faith? Name it specifically. Don't shame yourself. Just acknowledge it. Next, ask, what did I learn about you today? What aspect of my character became clearer? What did today teach you about how I work, how I love, how I lead? This question trains you to see every experience as revelation. Finally ask, what is one adjustment I need to make tomorrow? Based on today's lessons, what's one thing you'll do differently? One boundary you'll set? One risk you'll take? One conversation you'll have? One habit you'll break? Then pray a simple prayer. Thank you for today, the wins and the losses. I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm becoming more yours. Do it again tomorrow. There will be moments, many of them, where you feel completely overwhelmed, where surrender feels impossible, where you're spiraling into fear or regret or despair. In those moments, you need a panic button. Here it is. Stop whatever you're doing. If you can, find a private space. If you can't, just close your eyes where you are. Place one hand on your heart and one hand on your stomach. Feel your heartbeat. Feel your breath. These are signs that you're alive, that I'm sustaining you right now. Then pray this prayer, or your version of it. Jesus, I can't do this. I don't have the strength, the wisdom, or the faith to navigate this moment, but you do. So I'm handing this to you, not because I'm strong enough to let go, but because you're strong enough to hold it. I don't need to understand. I just need to trust. Carry what I can't carry. See what I can't see. Then release the outcome. Not forever, just for the next 5 minutes. Tell yourself, for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to act as if Jesus has this handled, and then do the next thing in front of you. Answer the email, make the call, have the conversation, take the shower, without trying to solve the bigger problem. Often, you'll find that after those 5 minutes, the panic has passed. You've interrupted the spiral. You've created space for me to speak. And even if the problem hasn't disappeared, your capacity to face it has increased. Once a week, I want you to do something that feels risky, uncomfortable, or illogical, but that you sense I'm asking you to do. This is how you train the muscle of obedience. You start with small, low-stakes experiments, so that when the high-stakes moments come, you've already built the neural pathway of trusting me over your instincts. I'm prompting you to apologize to someone, even though you think you're right. Do it. I'm prompting you to give money to someone in need, even though your budget is tight. Do it. I'm prompting you to have a vulnerable conversation, even though it terrifies you. Do it. I'm prompting you to say no to an obligation, even though you'll disappoint people. Do it. I'm prompting you to create something, even though you have no idea if it will succeed. Do it. After you do it, journal about what happened. Did the outcome match your fear? What did you learn about me? What did you learn about yourself? How did obedience change you? Over time, you'll start to see a pattern. The things I ask you to do that feel the scariest are often the things that set you the most free. Once a month, sit down with a notebook and do a full inventory. Write down every area of your life: relationships, career, finances, health, purpose, dreams, fears, wounds. For each area, ask yourself, am I holding this area with an open hand or a clenched fist? Where am I trying to control outcomes instead of stewarding processes? What am I afraid will happen if I fully surrender this area to you? What would change if I truly believed you're good and trustworthy in this area? Then, area by area, pray a prayer of release. It might sound like, I release my relationship with this person. I've been trying to control how they see me, how they treat me, whether they stay or go. I'm letting go. I trust you to either heal this or release me from it. Either way, I'm yours. Or, I release my financial anxiety. I've been gripping my money with fear, trying to hoard enough to feel secure. But security doesn't come from my bank account. It comes from you. I'll be wise with what I have, but I won't worship it. This practice keeps you from drifting back into control mode. It forces you to regularly check in with yourself and with me, to notice where you've started white-knuckling again, and to consciously resurrender. So here we are, at the end of this conversation, but really at the beginning of something much bigger. You came here looking for a formula, a 5-step plan, a guaranteed method to make surrender feel safe. But what I've given you instead is an invitation into a relationship. One where you learn my voice by listening, where you trust my heart by risking, where you discover my goodness by walking through the very things you feared would destroy you. Let me recap what we've uncovered together. Surrender isn't passivity. It's the violent, courageous act of aligning your will with mine and moving forward in faith. My voice is distinct from fear's voice. It's specific, freeing, and always calls you toward more life, not less. Letting me guide your steps doesn't mean waiting for certainty. It means using the light you have, taking the next step, and trusting me to redirect you if you veer off course. Losing your life to find it isn't loss. It's liberation from the false self so the true self can finally emerge. And the practices I've given you aren't burdens. They're training wheels for a life lived in constant communion with me. But here's the thing I need you to hear before you close this video. You're not broken. You've just been operating under the wrong system. You've been taught that you have to be perfect to be loved, that you have to have it all figured out to be useful, that you have to perform to be accepted, and that system has been crushing you. But my system is different. My system says, come as you are, bring me your mess. Let me love you in the middle of your confusion, and watch as I turn your weakness into a megaphone for my strength. You don't need to clean yourself up before you surrender to me. You surrender to me so I can do the cleaning, gently, gradually, with more grace than you ever thought possible. So right now, wherever you are, I'm asking you, will you take the next step? Not the whole journey, just the next step. Will you stop demanding that I show you the entire staircase before you move your foot? Will you trust that I'm good, even when my decisions don't make sense to you yet? Because I'm here. I've always been here, and I'm not going anywhere. If this message reached something in you, if you felt me speaking directly to your situation, leave a comment below and tell me what shifted. I read every one, and I'm with you in them. And if you want more of these conversations where I speak truth, challenge lies, and walk with you through the hard stuff, subscribe, hit the bell. This channel exists because you're not meant to walk alone. Now go, take your next step. I'll meet you there.